What's up, everybody? It's the Power Rankings Podcast, aka the Power Rankings Show. I'm your host, Elliot Harrison, and I'm pleased to be joined, as always, on this Tuesday with that Marcus _ Mosher. You never timed the point right.
It's whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. So
there's a little bit of a delay when we do it. I don't want to make excuses, but
dude, it is windy here. It was cold this morning and windy in LA. It was 54 this morning with wind. How about that in Los Angeles? Just saying. It is April. Like, yeah. Oh, I'm not boo-hooing. I'm just saying, like, I was a little surprised. I'm just saying, So what favor? What movie is that from? Come on.
That'd be
Come on.
Rocky 3. That's Rocky talking to Apollo.
Yeah. After this, you're going to owe me a favor. What favor? Yeah. All right. So good stuff. Yeah. All right. So I could go Rocky 3 for like 5 minutes. I'm not going to do it.
I mean, we could do the whole show just doing Rocky 3 quotes.
Yeah. I never quite understood the open of that movie when Paulie gets jealous about Rocky being on TV on all the sports and he goes into the arcade.
It breaks the pinball machine, right?
Yeah. And then Rocky comes to pick him up out of jail and they start fighting. And then finally goes, "Can I get a job?" Yeah.
Listen, Paulie, he's in a weird spot in his life. That's all.
Yeah. Friends do because they want to do. All right. So here we go. So today we're not.
We're off to a hot start.
We're off to a hot start. Let me first ask you before I intro what we're going to do today. Any football things you want to get off your chest, newsworthy, anything that's on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, we should at least talk about Dwayne Haskins, right? Because that's such a sad situation. I mean, it really feel like that his teammates loved him so much, and he was really good in the community at Pittsburgh and Washington. It's really sad. The 24-year-old's life was taken in a tragic way like that. So rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins.
I obviously coupled with that, unfortunately, was the Adam Schefter situation, announcing his passing, and it basically mentioned Dwayne Haskins' career struggles. You've probably already seen that by now, as that was several days ago. I would just say to that sometimes we do just equate these players with how good they are, and that's it when we talk about them. And I think we're all a little bit guilty of that. Maybe not in that sense. I think that was a pretty bad mistake on Adam Schefter's part. But
yeah, and what's really unfortunate is, man, like, it sounds like from all the stories that I've read over the last couple of days, like, he was an awesome brother too. He has a younger sister that he was so proud of, and his sister meant the world to him. So they just, when you see a tweet like that, it doesn't really sum up the human part of it. It's unfortunate. Right.
And let's not forget that playing quarterback, being a starting quarterback in the NFL is one of the hardest things in the world to do. So if someone didn't live up to other people's expectations, that doesn't mean that's their epitaph, right, of their life. And so that's been discussed a lot. I loved Cardale Jones's tweet, former Ohio State quarterback, when he said, "How about?" and then he typed out a perfect way that he should be remembered in a tweet, in that limited character space.
Oh, tweet. Yeah.
And the other thing with Dwayne Haskins too, I think is, I think it's a good thing that people, because of this situation, recognize that, that these guys are more than, just players. And I think, honestly, Marcus, you realize that the most when you go to Canton. Because when you see these guys as older men and they have limitations, and you realize just how human these guys are, because you're seeing them up close and personal. And when they're 75 years old, they don't have an entourage, and they don't have, and I don't just mean entourage like you may think, but, it's hard to get one-on-one time with these players when they're at the facility as well. And you see these guys and you realize just how human they are. And so anyway, I think those are all good points. Anything else other than Dwayne Haskins, which obviously should have dominated the news, and rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins?
No, it's been pretty quiet in the rest of the NFL circles. It seems like we're just waiting for the draft to get here. Really no free agency moves at all. So we should start talking a little bit about some draft history today, Elliot.
Yeah. So what we decided to do today, and apologies for kind of the down way to start the podcast here, but Dwayne, that was big news, and it merits being discussed. We do have a lighter topic today. Pretty cool. So I don't know if it was like 5 years ago or something, I did an article for NFL.com where I ranked the best draft pick of all time of every spot in the first round. So who's the best, 16th or 17th pick overall of all time, and talked about it with Marcus. Thought it would be really fun to do it since 2000 because you're not going to always have Hall of Famers at your disposal. And so Marcus put together the best first 32 picks of all time, at least since the year 2000. And so again, this is who was the best first overall pick, who was the best second overall pick, which by the way, there aren't as many good second overall picks as you might think. So we're going to start off with number 32. Now, what was your criteria here?
Yeah, I went for just the guy that I thought was the best player at his position. I factored in longevity a little bit, which I know you're going to have a problem with when we get to the top of the list. But guys that are at the peak of their powers, maybe the best at their position, or the multi-time Pro Bowler or All-Pro selection. So I tried to get
out something.
Wow. I like the guys that are a little bit fun to watch too.
Yeah, and you're leaving out. I know how you look at the draft, and you are a big positional value guy.
Yeah, if
one
you hit on a
versus the other. So
if you hit on a quarterback later in the first round, you're almost always going to get that spot because it's so much more valuable than grabbing a run-stopping defensive tackle who's in the NFL for 13 years.
Okay, so we're going to get, I'm sure there's going to be a couple of guys where that we run into that. So let's start with number 32. I see the Baltimore Ravens. I think I know who this is.
Yeah, it's Lamar Jackson. And it's really hard to find quarterbacks beyond the top 15 picks. So to find one at 32 is really good. Already an MVP. The Ravens traded up into the spot. Although I will mention Logan Mankins had a really good career for the Patriots. He's somebody else that another pick 32.
When I did this years ago, Lamar Jackson had only played 1 year. And so I had Logan Mankins as my 32. But I was going all time, but we've only had 32 picks since 2002 when the Texans came into the league. So the least competition there. Okay, 31. Actually, I see a double turn here. We've got Pittsburgh going back to back at 31 and 30. So what's our double dip?
Yeah, I mean, two guys that are still on that Steelers defense. It's Cam Hayward here at pick 31, and then it's TJ Watt at pick 30. Both of those guys are all pro players. TJ Watt was obviously the defensive player of the year. And not only at the peak are they, all pro players, they've had long careers so far. So both outstanding picks by the Steelers here at 31 and 30.
Yeah, when I did this all time, I had Nnamdi Asomugha at 31, Reggie Wayne at 30, and you've got TJ Watt higher than Reggie Wayne.
Yeah, Wayne had a longer career, but Watt, when you got a defensive player of the year, you're the best guy on that side of the ball for one season. It's hard to ignore that. Yeah,
even though you've only played 5 years. Yeah, let's keep that in mind as we move across the list that you're taking a 5-year guy here over. Yeah. I'd like to. Okay. I'd like to apply that elsewhere.
I won't, but number 29, 29, Minnesota Vikings. I like to pick players that are the greatest ever at their position, and that's why I went with Cordero Patterson, the dynamic kick and punt returner here at 29. Now, he's been on 4 All-Pro teams as a returner, and last year was his best year ever as a positional player. Plus, the other guys aren't super great. The other best candidates are Nick Mangold, Harrison Smith, Ben Grubbs. Other than that, it's a pretty shaky list.
When I did this before, I had a guy who was constantly on the injury report. Can you guess who I had at
Hakeem
29?
Nicks.
Hakeem Nicks. Yeah, he could have been so good.
Could have been good.
Oh, man. All right, 28, I see the 49ers. Who's up?
You want to guess who this is?
At 28, this has got to be – well, this would have been when they would have lost a divisional round game. Is this no, Patrick Willis went higher than this. Doggone it.
I'll just say it's Joe Staley, who started a bunch
I would not have gotten that.
Yeah, 6 Pro Bowl appearances for Joe Staley, 12 years as a starter. The rest of this list is pretty not great. It's Mark Ingram, Eric Wood, Laken Tomlinson, Mercedes Lewis, and that's about it. This is a spot that has historically been pretty rough to find, even solid starters.
Yeah, the best 28th pick of all time is Darrell Green. He went 28th in the 83 draft. He wore number 28, but we're only doing it since 2000. But I think that's a pretty good player you've got at 28. Dare I say a little bit underrated player over his career. Solid. Okay, next up, I see the Houston Texans.
Ugh. It's DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins. Three All-Pro selections, 5 Pro Bowls. This isn't a bad spot. Roddy White's another really good player that deserves to be mentioned. Devin McCourty. I don't think he's had a Hall of Fame career, but a Hall of very good. And then some other guys that have kind of flamed out. Larry Johnson for 2 seasons, maybe. Jimmy Smith was a really good corner for at least a few years. But yeah, I think it has to be DeAndre Hopkins.
It's good that we're not talking about Jimmy Smith, the Jags receiver, because I'd be taking him.
No.
But there's talk about underrated players. But DeAndre Hopkins, I can live with that. All right, 26. I see Green Bay. I think I know who this is.
Who is it?
Wait a minute. No, I don't. No, I don't, because he went 24. The guy I'm thinking.
Yeah, this is Clay Matthews. One of the best edge rushers in the league for about a decade. Right. Coming out of USC, was really like the 4th linebacker there. This is another spot. Not a lot of great NFL players. You're talking about Dwayne Brown, Whitney Merciless, Calvin Ridley. It's not great. So Clay Matthews, he was on the Super Bowl winning team in 2010. Really good player.
Huge sack years.
Yeah.
Huge sack years. Quite a family history in pro football too. Not only was his father in pro football, his grandfather played for the San Francisco 49ers. How about that? Okay. What's up at 25?
It's can you guess the team? You can see it if you're on it.
I can see it. Yeah, I could guess it.
It's the New England Patriots. It's Dont'a Hightower. Now, there's other guys on this list that you could make a better case for, better linebackers at their peak. I think John Beeson might have been.
There's a good one. Carolina, you bet.
Santonio Holmes was the MVP of a Super Bowl, right? Vontae Davis, a really good cornerback for a long time. But I think Dont'a Hightower, in like the 2016, 2017 range, he might have been the best front 7 guy in the league. I mean, he was absolutely incredible. He was so good at that playoff or in the Super Bowl against the Falcons. Plus, anytime that we get to talk about Dont'a Hightower this podcast, I like to do it.
You bet. Well, I can guess who the next team is. Wow, we got a double dip with this team at 24 and 23, but stiff competition at spot 24. Hall of Fame competition at 24.
Yeah, this one is a really deep one. It's Aaron Rodgers. We don't need to spend a lot of time on him, but I picked Aaron Rodgers over somebody who's already in the Hall of Fame, and Ed Reed. I think the best free safety that I've ever seen. A couple of really good running backs, including Steven Jackson, Chris Johnson, Des Bryant, fantastic. Your guy, Cameron Jordan, who you would have taken over Cam Hayward, David DeCastro, an all-pro level guard for several years. How about Dallas Clark, a Super Bowl winning tight end? It's
24 is loaded. It's one of the best slots in the first round ever. It's loaded.
Do you know who drops at 24 this year? Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
When I did this 5 years ago, I did not take Aaron Rodgers. I took Ed Reed because I thought Ed Reed was the greatest that ever did what he did. And Aaron Rodgers, maybe now I would take Aaron. I like how I'm calling him Aaron, like he and I are boys.
Best friends. Yep.
I've actually never met Aaron Rodgers in my travels. How about a teammate of his at 23?
Yeah, it's Brian Bulaga. But I'm going to ask you a question. Brian Bulaga was the 23rd pick in 2010. Riley Reef, the 23rd pick in 2012. Who had the better career?
Bulaga.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I think he's been more important to teams that needed to win. I think his loss last year really affected the LA Chargers in that final game. You saw what Max Crosby did in the season finale. How many pressures did Max Crosby have on Brian Bulaga's backup in that game?
I want to mention one more guy at this spot.
Sure.
Because it was a controversial pick at the time. Okay. Back in 2003, the Bills took Willis McGahee coming off that really devastating knee.
Didn't play the whole year.
Didn't play, but in his first 4 years in the NFL, His first year, 1,300 yards from scrimmage, 1,400 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,400 yards. Ended up having a Pro Bowl season with Denver way later in his career, but a pretty good running back considering, that big of an injury that he had with Miami.
You know what else I remember from his career? 17-year-old Marcus Mosher's probably like a senior in high school, watching the Cowboys close out Texas Stadium, fourth quarter, trying to hang on.
I was more about little Ron McClain scoring a 70-yard touchdown in that game than Willis McGahee. But
Willis McGahee had a big one too, though. Both of them did in the fourth quarter. I'll never forget that. Ugh, that was awful. Okay, number 22.
Demaryius Thomas. Demaryius Thomas, man, he was so good. Now, he had a couple injuries early on in his career. I think a torn Achilles during his rookie season. But when he got with Peyton Manning, that 3-year stretch for him was absolutely incredible. I love watching Demaryius Thomas. This one was pretty clear cut. The only other guy that I should mention is Justin Jefferson. Now, he's only, 2 years into his career, but I think Jefferson probably will end up being a better receiver.
Demaryius Thomas was the 2010 draft, right? And that's the year he missed. And then his first year he started was with Tim Tebow.
Correct.
And it made a few big plays, but didn't have great numbers. And then in 2012, they get Peyton Manning. They team him with Eric Decker, and then they have Julius Thomas at tight end. They were off. Yeah, okay, good pick. Let's go. Next one, 21.
Yeah, this one's Chandler Jones for me, but there's also some other names that we should mention. Vince Wilfork, Alex Mack, Reggie Nelson had a pretty nice career as well.
Absolutely.
But Chandler Jones is your guy, so I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, I love Chandler Jones, but I got to say, between he and Alex Mack, that's tough. That's real tough. I mean, how do you pick? A center is really important. They call out the protections. I don't know that you can just automatically go positional value here as a pass rusher. I remember Tom Brady was so unhappy when the Patriots let Chandler Jones walk. He had some great years with the Cardinals where I felt like he wasn't even getting noticed. He finally started getting his due, Marcus. Then he gets hurt. It was probably my favorite acquisition this year in the offseason for the Raiders. I can't wait to see him next to Max Crosby. I think that's going to be legit.
And when you get a guy that has 107 career sacks, awfully hard to not include him.
And still going,
he's going to rack up a bunch of sacks this year.
You bet.
Pick 20, a guy that I think is very underrated that we don't talk about enough, Tamba Hali.
Oh, I love this one. Tamba Hali was a force, man, and he was a force for a long time. He was one of those guys, even late in his career, he was going to get you some pressures if it didn't get you 10 sacks. Plus, he looked cool. He had that dark visor.
Yeah,
he just looked intimidating. Oh, I loved Tamba Hali. That's a great one. Man, when he was a veteran and Justin Houston was just coming up, they were lethal. They were lethal. I love that. Who was the toughest competition at 20th overall with him?
Nobody. He was pretty clear cut.
Well, there you go. Let's go to number 19. We got the Seattle Seahawks. We got Seattle coming up with the double dip here pretty quick. So what do we got at 19?
Yeah, this one is rough. There's only two guys. There's three guys that should be considered. It's Sean Alexander, who I picked, Casey Hampton, your nose tackle for the Steelers.
Yeah.
And Antonio Cromartie, who was drafted by the Chargers, but really started to shine with the Jets.
Oh, this is tough. So when I did this, 5 years ago, I had Randall McDaniel. He's a Hall of Fame guard. He played for the Vikings. So I went back to 1988. I did not use a recent player. But see, the thing is there have been 19 overall picks for, all the way back to 67 when they did the first common draft. So a lot of competition here, but not as many good players as you would think. Isn't that crazy? We just went over 24 and it was like, who's who? We're 5 spots higher. Think about what teams would trade right now to move up from 24 to 19. You'd have to give up some pretty good capital just to move up those 5 spots. Okay, so you went Sean Alexander over, who was the second guy you said? Because right after Sean Alexander.
Casey Hampton, Antonio Cromartie.
Okay, so Sean Alexander was an MVP, but Casey Hampton was solid for like a decade. The anchor of the Steelers, middle of that defense, helped him win a Super Bowl. Helped him win 2 Super Bowls.
It's just when you're an MVP, though, it's really hard not to put you at top of the list, right?
All right, we'll come back to Seattle in a second. Let's go to 18 first.
Baltimore. Now, this one, you want to talk about a spot that is just bone dry of talent. It's pick 18. And it's Joe Flacco because he did win a Super Bowl and he started 12 years in the NFL. But I'm going to read you the names of the other players that were considered. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
Calvin Pace, Jeff Backus, Marcus Peters, Chad Pennington, Leon Hall, Corey Legit, Eric Reed.
You know what? I will say, I'm not saying he should be the guy. Leon Hall had a pretty nice career.
He did.
He had a nice, I would say a nice prime with Cincinnati.
TJ Duckett.
Remember when Bobby Carpenter had the pick six against the Cowboys as a member of the Lions?
Yeah, don't remind me.
Another one of your big. Okay, so wait, there was somebody that you just said right there. Doggone it, besides Leon Hall. Oh,
Marcus Peters, Chad Pennington.
Yeah. Which one do you think I would take?
Oh, Pennington probably at his peak was the better quarterback. It's just he just didn't start very long, and he didn't start very many games.
That didn't seem to bother you when we were doing somebody else back yonder, TJ Watt.
I mean, the difference is Pennington at his peak wasn't a MVP level player.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so now we're back to Seattle at 17. They just had 19. Now they're at 17.
Couple of really good guards and offensive linemen at this spot.
You got a guard fetish. We learned that.
There's Nate Solder. CJ Mosley's a really good linebacker. Mike Iupati for the 49ers.
Real good player.
But it's Steve Hutchinson, a Hall of Fame guard, 5 All-Pros. Yeah, we don't have to spend much time on one.
Yeah, if you're gonna put Sean Alexander on this list, you better put Steve Hutchinson, because can you imagine running behind Steve Hutchinson and Walter Jones? I mean, it's like automatic 5 yards.
Yeah, I might even be able to average 3 yards a carry now that my back's feeling better.
Even with your makeup. Well, it's the yoga, bro. It's the yoga. I love that you're doing that. You know, I told your wife, you to tell your wife, Common Natalie, to try the Pilates. But let's go to number 16. We've got another repeat. This is the third time on the list for this team.
I really wanted to put Zach Martin on this list because I think he's going to be a Hall of Fame level guard. Already 5 All-Pros, but I have to go Troy Polamalu, already in the Hall of Fame, 4 All-Pros.
Boy, that pains you, didn't it?
No, because Polamalu is one of the best safeties to ever play. This one's pretty easy.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I did not put Troy Polamalu at 16 for mine, because I went all the way back to 67, and it just so happens that Jerry Rice was selected at this spot in 1985. And
second best receiver of all time. You got to put him
oh my gosh, you and your Randy Moss. The only thing you have more than a Randy Moss fetish is a guard fetish, but it's unbelievable. Okay, let's go to number 15.
Another spot that's really, really there's not a lot of talent here. The top options were Derek Johnson, Lawrence Timmons, Albert Hainsworth, Brian Cushing, Delta O'Neal, underrated cornerback. But I went with Jason Pierre-Paul, Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl champion, I believe, right? He had some unbelievable games when he was healthy. I know that's been a little bit of a problem throughout his career, but somebody who has a bunch of sacks and pretty big impact player.
Yeah, Pierre-Paul won the Super Bowl in 2011. I think he was a rookie that year with the Giants. Wasn't he in the 2011 draft?
Second year. Yep.
Oh, second year. So he's in the 20s in the Demaryius Thomas draft. Okay. And then they won in his second year, and then he won with Tampa Bay in 2020. Yep. Solid contributor to both teams. 2011, he blocks a kick against the Cowboys to help secure the NFC East for the Giants. Huge game for him. That was a Monday night game or Sunday night game, I think. Sunday night. But over Derek Johnson, that's a tough one, man, because that's a long-time solid NFL player.
I just feel like at their peaks, Jason Pierre-Paul was a little bit better.
Yeah. Johnson, 2005 out of Texas, that draft? Yep. Is that the right one? Okay.
Yep.
Let's go to 14, staying in New York.
Came down to 2 defensive backs, either Earl Thomas or Darrell Revis. I think Revis was the best defensive player in the league for about 3 or 4 years. I haven't seen a shutdown cornerback like that since Deion Sanders. I think it's a pretty easy choice.
Yeah, Darrell Revis, I think, is going to the Hall of Fame. When I did this since 1967, stayed in the AFC, so I took Jim Kelly, Buffalo Bills, but that's stiff competition right there. Okay, let's keep it moving.
Yeah, 13, Aaron Donald. Now, this is a spot that has a lot of good defensive tackles drafted. Marcus Stroud, an unbelievable player for Jacksonville that maybe people forgot about. Sheldon Richardson's had a really nice career with a couple different teams now. But Donald, For my money, I think he's the best defensive player that I've seen since Lawrence Taylor.
Oh man, when the Jags had Stroud and Henderson,
and John Henderson. Oh my!
Do you remember how big John Henderson was? And there was he had that pregame ritual where one of the Jags trainers would slap him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I remember the first time I saw that. I was like, okay, I don't want to block that guy. Let's go to number 12.
They had Rasheed Mathis in the secondary.
Oh yeah, we can go all day.
Love that Jacksonville team.
Listen, if you want to go Brad Meester at center, we can keep going with this. And MJD in the backfield. All right, we're done.
At number 12, it's Micah Parsons for the Cowboys. No, it's not, but it will. It's Haloti Ngata, one of my favorite players ever to watch. Haloti Ngata was one of the first big nose tackles that could actually move and rush the passer. He was phenomenal with Baltimore. Started 12 years with the Ravens and Eagles. I love Haloti Ngata.
Did he come out in 08?
2006.
06. Okay. I could not remember that. Yeah, Haloti Ngata is a good one. I liked him a lot as a player. I don't have any argument with that, but I know we're starting to get to some that I'm going to have an argument with. So let's go ahead.
What do you mean? I thought you liked my list so far.
I do like it so far. I have a feeling I know what's coming. I know your biases.
Right. At number 11.
Biases or biases?
Biases. Number 11, JJ Watt.
Yeah.
Multiple time defensive player of the year, on his way to a Hall of Fame career, one of the most dominant defenders we've ever seen, and somebody who could literally play any spot in the front seven that you need him to. So I'm putting JJ Watt there.
No problem with this pick at all. When I did this all time, I had Michael Irvin, or at least since the common draft started. What was JJ Watt's toughest competition since 2000 here?
A couple of really good guys. DeMarcus Ware should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Wasn't Dwight Freeney, Patrick Willis. There's Ben Roethlisberger, but we don't have to ever mention him again. Taylor Lewan, Marshawn Lattimore, Minka Fitzpatrick. It's a good list.
Okay, so I think a lot of people would say you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth because of positional value that it should be Ben Roethlisberger. Your Locked On Cowboys listeners are going to want D Ware here. But the right answer may not be any of those guys. Who do you think I would say was the right answer out of that?
I think you can make a really good argument for Patrick Willis if you wanted to, because for a 5-year stretch, he was the best linebacker in the NFL. However, JJ Watt was just a better player.
Yeah, I'm being biased myself. I think JJ Watt is the right answer. I'm just very predisposed towards Patrick Willis and that style of play, as are you. But you're a huge fan of his. So I'm a little surprised. If it had been between DeMarcus Ware and Patrick Willis, what would you have done?
Probably would have went with Ware for the longevity and the Super Bowl ring. That's
fair, I guess. All right. Now we're in the top 10. So here we go. I know who number 10 is. Not a lot of drama here. Come on.
No, 10 is a pretty rough spot. There's Patrick Mahomes, who I picked. There's Terrell Suggs, who had a fantastic career with Baltimore.
Defensive Player of the Year.
After that, the names drop off really quickly. You're looking at Levi Jones, Dante Robinson, Travis Taylor, Eric Ebron, Amobi Okoye, Eli Apple, Blaine Gabbert, Matt Leinart, Mike Williams. I mean, it's not great. So it's surprising that our top 10 pick has not yielded a lot of top-end players.
I like it when you call him Matt Leinart, because it's like, look, man, this guy wasn't that good. Suggs came out in, was it 2003?
2003, yep.
Yeah, so they got Ed Reed in 2002 and then turn around and get Terrell Suggs in 2003, and their defense is great for that decade. He won Defensive Player of the Year, I think, in 2011. Really, and played a really long time. So I like that one. Number 9 is another interesting spot.
Yeah, it's Brian Urlacher, but this is a difficult decision that I had to do last night when I was making this list, because it's Brian Urlacher or Luke Kuechly, two guys that both won Defensive Player of the Year, both great linebackers. Kuechly's career wasn't quite as long. Urlacher's was. He did take him to the Super Bowl. I guess so did Luke Kuechly with Carolina, but I think Urlacher, because he played so much longer, I have to give the nod to him.
Now, I am going to get you on this a little bit. You know, Luke Kuechly was the Defensive Player of the Year, just like TJ Watt.
Mm-hmm. But I think the difference is, though, you just don't have anybody that's as good at that 30 spot as you do with Brian Urlacher, and already a Hall of Fame level player.
All right.
Also, I should mention Tyron Smith is in this list too. an all-pro left tackle. So
probably going to the Hall of Fame. Honestly, it's weird that Brian Urlacher went on the first ballot. I'll be honest. I was really shocked at that. Not saying doesn't deserve it. I think Luke Kuechly makes the Hall of Fame. I think Tyron Smith makes the Hall of Fame
I should also mention Kevin Williams, who was drafted at that spot, had 5 all-pro selections, and we didn't even mention him in the top 4 players. So pretty incredible.
Hall of very good there for sure.
Very,
I don't know.
good.
It's hard for those defensive tackles that don't have the sacks. I mean, that's why the Casey Hamptons of the world get no Hall of Fame. I mean, if you're 5-time all-pro, you're probably a Hall of Fame player. Yeah. You're talking first team, right?
Yep.
I didn't even know Kevin Williams had that much. That's great. Okay, number 6.
Number 8.
No, I'm sorry. I skipped number 8.
Yeah, number 8. It's Roy Williams. But I'm going to just read you the list of every pick since 2000 here at number 8.
You just say Roy Williams.
It is Roy Williams because listen to the list.
Hold on. We need to say Roy Williams, the safety for the Cowboys, not Roy Williams, the receiver for Detroit, because he went pretty high himself. Yes. I don't remember where he went, but go ahead.
Here's the list. Plexico Burress, David Terrell, Roy Williams, Jordan Gross, a very good tackle, D'Angelo Hall, Antrell Roll, Dante Whitner, Jamal Anderson, Derek Harvey, Eugene Monroe, Rolando McClain, Elliott Guy, Jake Locker, Ryan Tannehill, Tavon Austin, Justin Gilbert, Vic Beasley, Jack Conklin, Christian McCaffrey, Roquan Smith, TJ Hawkinson, Isaiah Simmons, JC Horn. Yikes.
I probably would have taken Jack Conklin.
I think Conklin's been a little bit overrated during his career, but that's fine.
Roy Williams went down fast. I will say I didn't have to have this dilemma at all. Ronnie Lott went 8th overall. So I got to lean on that. So I lucked out there when I did this. Okay, I can live with that. The Roy Williams, his first couple of years, when he had Darren Woodson saying where to line up, my goodness, he was a force.
Yeah, that's a rough one. At number 7, it's Minnesota. It's Troy Williamson, the receiver. No, it's not. But he was number 7.
Was it?
Yeah. So was Brian McKinney. 05. Brian McKinney was 2002, but the correct answer is Adrian Peterson in the 2007 draft. Surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest running backs ever. It's really not all that close either.
And maybe not an insane draft overall, but when you talk about in the top 7 or 8 picks, there's several Hall of Famers in that draft, 2007. Are any of them going to be on this list? I think so. Let's go to the next team.
All right. At number 6 is New England Patriots with Richard Seymour. I really thought about putting Julio Jones here because Julio's had such a good career. Outside of that, it's not a great list. Only 3 players have made an all-pro out of this one. It's Julio Jones, Richard Seymour, and Quentin Nelson. It's pretty rough here at number 6.
Well, I think Quentin Nelson will be the right answer here.
Could be.
But I think the right answer for me, I usually side with the older guys, and I love defense. I probably would have taken Julio here. I'm surprised. I'm impressed actually. You love your fantasy points. I'm impressed that you went with the defensive lineman. Sweet.
I mean, Seymour was the best defensive player on those Patriots teams in the early 2000s. So you kind of have to include him, right?
Okay. Hey, man, I'm down. I'm down. Vince Wilfork says hello. Willie McGinnis says hello. Ty Law says hello.
All good players. Seymour's the best one.
Yeah. Lawyer Malloy says hello. Let's go number 5.
Players. Number 5.
Yeah.
I think the best running back of all time, in my opinion, LaDainian Tomlinson. I don't think we're ever going to see seasons like he had at the peak of his career where he was scoring 20-ish touchdowns every single year. This one was pretty easy for me.
Did you say best running back of all time?
I think he's the best running back of all time.
Marcus, I love LaDainian Tomlinson. I worked with him. That is some recency bias, my friend. That is some serious recency bias.
Are you going to let me rephrase this. He's the best Super Bowl era running back, in my opinion.
Marcus.
I think he's better than Emmitt Smith. I think he's better than Barry Sanders. I think he's better than Walter Payton.
No.
There's
no way he's better than Walter Payton. There's no way. I'm sorry. Even LaDainian Tomlinson would tell you that.
Yeah, that's
okay.
He's a very humble guy.
Yeah, and he and Priest Holmes are up for the greatest fantasy players of all time, in my opinion. Those two guys.
You realize that from 2001 to 2008, LaDainian Tomlinson had almost 16,000 yards from scrimmage. and 141 touchdowns.
Yeah. Look, let's not do this. We don't have the time, the space. We could talk about this on Friday. Number 4, same team, making another turn.
Yeah, I really wanted to throw Ezekiel Elliott in here because you know how much I love to talk about running backs. But it's Phillip Rivers. Number 4 has been a spot that's not been super great with talent. Now, my guy Amari Cooper deserves to be mentioned here because he's been one of the best receivers in the league for so long now. But I
think he's the greatest of all time, at least to the Super Bowl era.
AJ Green, Justin Smith, Trent Williams all deserve to be mentioned, but Phillip Rivers at number 4.
Yeah, this was a tough one, I'm sure, between Trent Williams. Trent Williams, highest graded player in pro football last year, a remarkable career, going to the Hall of Fame. I don't know if Phillip Rivers is going to the Hall of Fame. I certainly don't have a problem with it. I think Trent Williams will, but positional value, as you said, you hit on a quarterback in the top 5, Marcus, you're setting your franchise up. And the first year Phillip Rivers started, they went 14-2. The next year, they were in the AFC Championship game when he played with the injured knee. I'm down. Okay, we're in the top 3 now.
Yeah, so positional value obviously matters a lot. Just not here at number 3 because I'm picking Larry Fitzgerald over Matt Ryan. Larry Fitzgerald, one of the best receivers I've ever seen. He kind of willed Arizona to the Super Bowl in 2008. Played with so many bad quarterbacks that it kind of hampered his stats a little bit, but a lock to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is a good spot, though. Matt Ryan, Andre Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Joe Thomas, Gerald McCoy, Chris Samuels, an underrated tackle for Washington, also should be mentioned. Joey Bosa. But I like Larry Fitzgerald the best here.
We mentioned that 2007 draft that Adrian Peterson went 7th overall. Joe Thomas was one of the other guys I was referring to. That's really steep competition for Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah. But Larry Fitzgerald's kind of the Walter Payton of wide receivers. He could do everything. He could block. He could run after the catch. If you saw the 2008 postseason, he could certainly get vertical. He could high point the ball like Randy Moss. In fact, he did it in that postseason spectacularly. Greatest postseason you've ever seen by one player?
Oh, yeah.
2008 Fitzgerald?
Yeah. I don't know if it's ever going to be matched. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the best I've ever seen as well. Great one. Okay, so let's go number 2. I think this is going to be more of my 2007 draft prediction here, I think.
Yeah, so we're going with the Lions player. And actually, the Lions hit on 2 players at number 2, Ndamukong Suh and Calvin Johnson. I picked Calvin Johnson. Historically, the number 2 spot's been pretty rough. The last few years, it hasn't been too bad. Julius Peppers in 2002, Ndamukong Suh in 2010, Von Miller, 2011, Calvin Johnson, 2007. Leonard Davis was kind of a bust for Arizona, but turned his career around in Dallas. Reggie Bush
played bass.
Played bass in the I don't even remember what the band was called with Corey Proctor and Mark Colombo.
These players never get the credit.
Yeah. Reggie Bush, though, another Lion drafted by the Saints. I thought he was really good for the Lions in like 2014.
He was. It's just funny how you said that because I don't think anyone, when they think of Reggie Bush, they don't say, "Hey, man, great Lion."
He was he the first Lion to rush for 1,000 yards in like forever, right?
Just going back to Leonard Davis real quick. The bass player is kind of the offensive line of the band.
Yeah.
They support the band. They're underrated. I have to look up what the name of the band is.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, I knew you would. We got to know. It was Mark Colombo,
Free Reign.
Leonard Davis,
Free Reign.
Wait, is it Colombo, Leonard Davis, and who?
Corey Proctor.
Corey Proctor. Let's
get to number 1. Another Lion.
Let's get to number 1.
This one's tricky because there's not a lot of great number 1 picks over the last 23 years or whatever we've been doing this. Eli Manning obviously won 2 Super Bowls. Cam Newton was the MVP. Carson Palmer was really good for a short amount of time. But I'm going with Matt Stafford just because he did win a Super Bowl. I think he made Detroit competitive for about a decade. And then the numbers are phenomenal.
Okay. So did you mention Myles Garrett?
I did not mention Myles Garrett, no.
So Myles Garrett has been as good as TJ Watt. Is that fair?
Yes. Yep.
But he doesn't get the nod the way TJ Watt does, I think, because Matt Stafford won the Super Bowl this year. What if Matt Stafford just had a good year and the Rams got bounced by Tampa in the divisional round? Do you still felt the same way?
Yeah, I probably do. I don't know if the Super Bowl makes that big of a difference for me, because when you are a starting quarterback for a decade and you are a top 10, 12 passer, I think you need to be mentioned.
I like Matt Stafford a lot. I think he's a really good player. I used to defend him all the time. His best year was probably 2011, his third year, through 40 touchdowns, over 5,000 yards. Obviously, this was one of his best years that he just had. But I think I would take Andrew Luck here.
Okay.
Because to me, if you're talking positional value, then we're going to go ahead and take Myles Garrett out of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Andrew Luck, like Myles Garrett, didn't play as long. But if we're talking about, who do you want to win this year, all things being equal, I think most people would take Andrew Luck over Matt Stafford. Now, if you're just saying, hey, look at the career catalog, all the accomplishments, of course it's going to be Matt Stafford. But I don't think Matt Stafford on his best day is as good as Andrew Luck on his best day.
Now, in the same vein, could I not say Joe Burrow is better than Andrew Luck now? He's only played 2 years, but he led the NFL in yards per attempt this year, passer rating, and took his team to the Super Bowl. Why not?
No, because first of all, I'm going to use your own argument against you. You love Jamar Chase.
I do love Jamar Chase.
And you like,
I also love T.Y. Hilton, just like I love Kobe Fleener and some of the.
Yeah, exactly. The 2014 Colts supporting cast that Andrew Luck got to the AFC Championship game. And then they played a foul weather game in Foxborough. That's the famous Deflategate game. The fact that they were able to beat the Broncos on the road, they won 2 playoff games, that group. I think they beat Cincinnati in the opening round. Hey, man, I just think peak Andrew Luck was phenomenal.
He was. There's no debate. He was an amazing quarterback.
So, and his last year in the league, he was absolutely as good as Matt Stafford was last year. I'll take 2018 Andrew Luck with 2021 Matt Stafford for sure. And then Andrew Luck retired.
Sure.
So, but overall, I think this is a really great list. How many teams were on here? Like 3 times?
Four teams are on here 3 times. Yes.
Pittsburgh, right? Was it Seattle? Maybe
Seattle, Minnesota, and
New England. Is it New England?
I believe Houston was one of them, right? With
JJ Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, and who?
Maybe it wasn't.
No. New England had Hightower. No,
they had Hightower and Seymour. The Ravens had Flacco, Lamar, and that was it.
No, Haloti Ngata. That's it.
Oh, and
it was the Ravens.
Yep.
That was the last one. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, we just had to get that right. Hey, man, this is a good list. This is a really fun exercise. I dare I say, I think you did a really great job on this. I only had a couple of little petty grievances here and there.
It seems like my LaDainian Tomlinson take is what really got you riled up. It's just so fascinating.
I mean, dude, Walter Payton led the NFC in rushing from 1976 to 1980, 5 years in a row. 5 years in a row. He caught a ton of balls. He was a ferocious blocker. Like LaDainian Tomlinson could throw the ball. I'm just.
LaDainian Tomlinson scored 141 touchdowns from 2001 to 2008. 141 touchdowns.
Okay. All right. Well, whenever you're done with your fantasy Hall of Fame, we'll get back to and you love to talk Super Bowls. But look, I love LaDainian Tomlinson. I think he did a great job with the 2010 Jets, actually. Mm-hmm. He ran for like 900 and something yards. Remember, helped them get scored a couple touchdowns against the Colts in that wild card game. Mm-hmm. Super clutch for them. But I love LaDainian Tomlinson, man. I'm all for it, but not all for better than Walter Payton. Sorry.
All right. Question for you.
Yeah.
Who is more, this will be my final thought as we head out. Who's more likely to take this spot? At number 1, Joe Burrow, or at number 6, Justin Herbert over Richard Seymour?
So number 4, Joe Burrow over Phillip Rivers, and number 6.
No, it'd be number 1, Joe Burrow over Matt Stafford.
Okay.
Or Justin Herbert over Richard Seymour.
I think it's going to be Justin Herbert over Richard Seymour. We got to see what Joe Burrow does. He had a great second year, but you know what? Matt Stafford, as I said, his third year in the league was amazing, but he never quite got back up to that level. There were a lot of factors, but we'll find out if it was lightning in a bottle for Joe Burrow or not. man, you're comparing Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert ultimately with this is what you're doing. And that is really, really tough.
Well, but, I'm also comparing Stafford to Richard Seymour, who's had a better career between those two players.
Yeah, no, I get it. But, as always, I defer to you at the final. Well, actually, I don't. You wasted it. So I'm not.
You can have it. You want the final word? Go ahead. Take it.
No, I don't. I want the final word from you here. Are you second guessing any of these picks?
No, I love my list. I like it.
You love it. All right. That's a good final thought.
No, I totally get the Andrew Luck argument, because if you're telling me one game, I've got a big game to get into the playoffs. Do I want Stafford or do I want Luck? I want Luck. I do. But the career for Stafford, I think, is just so much longer and the stats are so much better that I have to probably defer to the longevity here, even though I do think Luck at his peak was a better player.
Do you think you'll ever see Matt Stafford pregame at the national championship in like a jacket and
probably
a little scruff? Huh?
We'll probably see him wearing his varsity jacket from high school.
Oh man, such good stuff. All right, we're gonna go. That's it. That is your official final thought. You get no more. So we thank the good folks over at Brinks, Courtney, Eric, Herbert. He is at Marcus_Mosher. He covers the Cowboys and Locked On Cowboys. He covers the Raiders for USA Today. I am at Harrison NFL on Twitter. Hey, I'd love a tweet or two about this Walter Payton, LaDainian Tomlinson thing.
Yes, please.
I got to know. Or Andrew Luck versus Matt Stafford. I'd like to know what you guys out there think on this one. Anyway, y'all take care. We'll see y'all on Thursday.